You are now watching Gravy Movies.
Gravy Movies, Episode 6. There is no script. Today, Mike and I are recording a movie podcast with no outline. We have no planned discussion, no notes, no anecdotes stashed away to make this.
I might have a couple.
Oh, you're prepared? You're semi-prepared? You thought about this?
Well, we've been reading cinema speculation by Quentin Tarantino. So, chapter by chapter, I jot down a few thoughts. But
that's true.
No, I don't have any prepared statements or an outline, if you will. Just ideas rummaging around in my head.
The only thing I thought about was the intro, and I kind of threw everything out the window as soon as I started talking.
That's the way to do it.
All right, let's just. I'm grabbing the book.
Okay, you want to start with the book?
Yeah, that's the only thing we got.
Okay.
Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino. It is part biography, part film analysis and history. The foreword, or the first chapter, is called Little Q Watching Big Movies, and it's basically about how he started watching movies, going on dates with his mom, and what he was exposed to at a young age. I hoped you read this part, right? You didn't skip it? You didn't think it was like an intro? Okay.
No. I've read the first chapter, and I've read the following 3 after that, which are what? Bullet, Dirty Harry, and Deliverance?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And I've seen all 3 films.
The opening is funny because it's basically just like, I was the coolest kid that ever could be. And basically his mom was dating some schmuck guy that she dumped, and then afterwards was just dating black guys for a while. And you could just tell Quentin Tarantino wants to be black so badly.
Yes.
Like a highlight.
As if his films weren't apparent enough at points.
No, he kind of spells it out here for all of us. He sees a movie, I forget which movie, I think maybe The Wild Bunch, and he's screaming at the screen along with the other patrons in the movie.
It was one of those blaxploitation films.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And basically Quentin Tarantino yelling "suck my dick" at the movie screen elicited a response from her mom's NFL player boyfriend that was like, "You're a cool kid, Q. you're a cool cat."
Yeah.
And that was Quentin Tarantino's origin story, besides the video store, which he didn't really get into at all. There, it was really mostly focused on his childhood. Do you have any notes on the opening chapter? Basically, it's just his like white boy origin story.
Yeah, exactly. And that first chapter, I think, really sets the tone for the rest of the book, because he will take that experience and like he paints that picture for you, what it was like during the film scene in LA at that time, and what his experiences were like as a kid, and how he was trusted by his mom to watch films like very young. And then within every subsequent chapter, whenever he's talking about those films specifically, it seems like he sort of harkens back to those experiences and includes little anecdotes. I find it very interesting the way, he describes his own experiences, but then puts it sort of in historical context as well. So no, not many huge takeaways from the opening chapter per se.
It is. It was cool reading his mom having those 2 roommates too, because it was literally like the hottest, coolest women around were just raising Quentin Tarantino, this little movie freak, and I saw a lot of that dynamic after reading it and hearing about the women, his mom's friends that also took him to movies. It reminded me of like the dynamic of Death Proof, and the apartment set up, and kind of just like the way each character was kind of, it seemed almost like ripped from the trio that he grew up with his mom.
Yeah, totally.
But the first chapter is about Bullet, and I guess first, Why don't we say what we thought of Bullet first? Because that's how we did it. We watched the movie and then read the chapter. Is that how you did it too, Mike? That's how I did it.
Yes, I watched the films first.
I had seen Dirty Harry and Bullet
Same.
before.
I haven't seen Bullet.
Not since I was young though, so I was definitely looking at it with fresh eyes. Bullet's cool. It's kind of boring. Steve McQueen is cool, and that car chase in the middle of it kicks ass. And the ending's cool too. But honestly, there's just not much happening.
There's not much happening, and it's an extremely confusing film.
Yeah, a little bit.
And like because they just jump right into like this very sort of like complex story, and you don't fully understand like what they're getting after and the motives and all that. And I thought like his way of explaining it in the book made a lot more sense than the film itself. And his style of writing is funny too. Like he literally like writes in that paragraph where he's explaining it is like he says something to the degree of like, this movie is super weird. Nobody gets it at first. And even the way I'm paraphrasing it now, like really hardly even captures it. But no, I had the same sentiment as you. I think because of its nature, it was, besides being like cool at times, it also was like a little bit of a drag, because it's just like, okay, like what's going on? What are they doing? Steve McQueen doesn't talk much, but it was fine. I'm interested. I think I've read that Spielberg is like working on a remake of it or something.
It's like another Bullet story.
Yeah.
So I think Bullet the movie happened in whatever, or will happen, whether it's a prequel or whatever he's doing. I think it's with Bradley Cooper.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a Bullet story.
Yeah. What the one thing that I took from it, which it was like pat myself on the back kind of moment, because like when I was watching Bullet in real time, I was thinking, this reminds me a lot of To Live and Die in LA, the William Friedkin movie. Particularly at the end when they go to the airport, which I think honestly is better than the car chase. I mean, the car chase is awesome, but like that's at the airport is like when tension is really at its highest. And very similar scene in To Live and Die in LA. So when Tarantino mentioned that in the book, I was like, oh, maybe I did get a little bit of it. Maybe I'm smart. I can do things. I feel like Fredo. I was passed over.
Hearing about kind of McQueen's process too with his wife was one of the more interesting bits of the movie. How his wife,
she read all the scripts.
She read all the scripts. He didn't really read the script unless she kind of gave it the seal of approval. But even then, he had problems with Bullet, mostly because he thought his fans were cool young people, and Bullet was not a cool young person's movie. He was going to play a cop, and the kids called cops pigs, and he couldn't play a pig. So just hearing about the kind of movie star process, because Steve McQueen, one of our, not to diminish Steve McQueen, but I think he knew this and everyone knew this. That's kind of the point of this chapter too, is like Steve McQueen is awesome, but he could only bring so much to the table. And that was mostly his like essence. There's parts in the chapter that talk about him just ripping monologues out of the script, out of the Bullet script, and he's like, yeah, instead of saying all this stuff, I'm just going to eat an apple in the corner, and you can kind of say it to me instead. So he doesn't want to be the guy saying too much. He doesn't want to be this guy telling you what to do or being an authority figure or a rule setter. He wants to be a cool guy, even if that cool guy was a cop.
Yeah. It's another thing that I took away from the chapter and so far the book in general is I find it like really amusing how Tarantino puts his own opinions and thoughts on things in the book, right? But he like states them almost like in a matter of fact way, and rather than his opinion sometimes, And like even just like little things like when he's like describing films and in parentheses he'll put like overrated, underrated. Like it cracks me up where he's like he'll be talking about a film and he's just like, yeah, this is kind of like overblown, it's kind of shit, just like totally levels it. And I have a bone to pick with him because he like was heaping praise on Steve McQueen, which don't get me wrong, I like Steve McQueen, good actor, like his films, but he sort of like took a little jab at Paul Newman in the process and said like Paul Newman had like a few films every so many years out of all the shit ones he did, whereas like Steve McQueen was knocking out banger after banger. And I gotta say, I disagree. I'll take Paul Newman's filmography any day of the week over Steve McQueen's.
I don't know if I'll full on disagree. I think Paul Newman was just making more stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely acted in more. That's for sure.
So
he probably has, if I had to guess, he probably has double the credits that Steve McQueen does. But regardless, I'll take Paul Newman.
No, I probably would too. There's way more Paul Newman movies that stick out in my brain than there are Steve McQueen.
Yeah, I mean, McQueen, you got The Great Escape, Bullet, Magnificent Seven, The Blob.
Blob sucks. Don't even list The Blob.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
I'm just going in order of like on Letterboxd, the highest rated.
Yeah, the most popular ones. The Blob sucks.
Papillon or Papillon, I don't know how you pronounce it.
I think it's Papillon, yeah.
Papillon French, right? The Getaway, the Towering Inferno, which Newman is also in. The Thomas Crown Affair, Le Mans, which I've seen Le Mans. I like Le Mans racing movie.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Kid is good gambling movie. But like those are his highest rated films on Letterboxd. And then you go to Paul Newman. And Paul Newman, and I won't even count like some of Paul Newman's later stuff because I'll like focus on their heyday when they're acting at the same time. 60s, 70s. You got Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
The Sting, Cool Hand Luke, The Hustler, HUD, Color of Money when he's a bit older, The Verdict. I'll take Paul Newman any day of the week. Cars, give me Cars. I said
you said you were gonna stick in the era.
Yeah, I know, but give me Cars and Road to Perdition. Even like Nobody's Fool, which I have.
Yeah, pull the VHS out.
Yeah, I got two Newman VHSs right here. I got Color of Money and Nobody's Fool.
The Color of Money cover is sick.
Classic. Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. Give me Paul Newman.
I would probably take Newman too, but you almost set yourself up for a tough argument there because you listed a bunch of great Steve McQueen movies and then kind of stalled out with the Paul Newman ones.
I listed way more Newman films.
Yeah, but they exceeded the timeline.
Oh, but even before that, I listed more.
Okay.
And significantly better, I would argue. Like I would take Butch Cassidy, The Sting, and Cool Hand Luke. Those three films over anything Steve McQueen has ever done.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen all those Steve McQueen movies, so I can't really defend him too much, but I probably would too.
Thank you.
Good podcasting, agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
All right. The Dirty Harry chapter. Dirty Harry was the best movie of these first three chapters by far, in my opinion. The third chapter is Deliverance, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think it's by far the best movie of these initial three. It is just captivating. It's dark. It's funny. It has an energy to it that it has like a modern movie's energy to it, the way it moves, rather than the pacing of some of the other ones he listed. Yeah, it's just great. And reading how it's basically like the first serial killer movie that gets popularized, I never really thought of it like that. I always thought of it as a cop movie, but it really is. It's a serial killer movie too. And the guy that plays the serial killer is a total sicko and livens,
Scorpio.
yeah, Scorpio, the Zodiac knockoff. Um, it livens the whole thing up, and he makes the world even more believable in a way, even if he is like totally eating scenery in every shot he's in.
Yeah, it's really interesting to the historical context he provides, about the films and particularly Dirty Harry and why it was such a big hit, right? Because it was like speaking to this generation of Americans, right? The particularly older Americans who felt sort of left behind in in their times of with Vietnam and hippies and the Black Panthers. And then, they're thinking like society around them is collapsing. They don't recognize their America anymore. And then Dirty Harry is this guy who is brash and racist and doesn't play, by the book. Which it even translates to today. I remember watching Dirty Harry, and it's sometimes like a difficult watch at times. You're like, do I root for this guy?
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
He's like mowing down guys in the streets eating a hot dog. And it's like, yeah, they robbed a bank, but like what he's getting at here. I will say though, like the lines and nothing is like, there's really nothing like a Clint Eastwood line delivery.
Yeah, no way.
He's like, are you thinking did he shoot 5 times or 6 times? Or he's like, it's your lucky day, punk. Quick sidebar, I went over the weekend to Manlius Art Cinema to see A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh, nice.
When he's just strolling by and he get 3 coffins ready. And he comes back, my mistake, 4. There's just nothing. There's nothing like it.
No, again, yeah, all of these movies are basically like the cool guy movie to a certain degree, and they operate in different worlds, but at the end of the day, it's just the cool guy. Dirty Harry was also the movie that kind of bridged the gap between westerns and cop movies taking over for westerns. And
yeah, is this the one where he talked about the one of the film, or was it Deliverance that he did the double feature with the Wild Bunch? I think it was Deliverance.
Yeah, it was Deliverance. Okay.
Because he mentions Wild Bunch a ton.
The same director did those. Don Siegel, right? Did the Wild Bunch and Dirty Harry. Yeah, they would be separate then. But yeah, Dirty Harry, tight movie too. It's like hour 45 or something like that. The politics are murky, but they just create a world where even if you don't agree with the sentiment, you can like understand it and get behind it, and that's why it works, because you can just put yourself in Dirty Harry's shoes, even if you're not a racist murdering.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the sequels?
Yeah, I have when I was younger. Because obviously, like I'm also realizing that all of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies are just movies like my dad likes.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they would be, I don't know, of a slightly different class, but no, it's just kind of like
more nuanced.
Yeah. But no, it's just like movies old men like.
Yeah. Well, and it's honestly, like, I think it's a bit refreshing as well, because, for instance, very controversial, the Sight and Sound list, right, just came out several months ago, and people made a huge deal about that thing. And it's like very, very art house, I would say, the rankings of that list, and people were sort of up in arms, like, is it becoming, just I don't know the right way to put it, but I do think like Sight and Sound, for instance, it's like a little like film snobbery ish,
sure, yeah,
in a way. And then it's funny to hear Tarantino talk, because, like, I remember on a talk show once somebody asked him, I want to say it was Kimmel, like, what are perfect movies? And he's just like, Back to the Future is a perfect movie. The Exorcist is a perfect movie, right? Like all of these random films that are maybe a bit more mainstream. So it is refreshing in that sense. But then also, like, sometimes in these chapters, he's listing off all of these films. I'm like, I've never even heard of half of these films that he's talking about.
Yeah, I found a letterbox list that's like every movie mentioned in cinema speculation.
Oh, it's got to be a mile long.
It's long, yeah. I guess as we're talking, I also watched The Wild Bunch just for fun. It's not a chapter,
Same.
but he mentions it so many times. I watched it because I've never seen it before.
That
Again,
bunch sure is wild.
they're wild, but they're not that interesting. I thought it was fine. The 3 big action scenes were great, but everything in the middle was kind of a slog to get through. There was no like real way to associate with any of the characters, and there's no one you really rooted for. And I kind of
Mhm.
like the setup of having, the guy that used to be in the gang is the guy chasing them, but they don't really
Mhm.
do anything with it. He just comes in after the fact, after a couple like brushes, and he misses all the action. But and that's like cool that he misses it and sees like his old brother is like dead, the way he goes off with him at the end. But I just wish there
Mhm.
was a little more connective tissue with that character and the rest of the gang. But yeah, besides that, the Wild Bunch were just kind of annoying. And anytime you're like hanging out by the campfire or they're figuring out what to do next, I'm just like, I want to see what they're doing next. I don't want to see them figuring it out because they're not interesting in any way. Nobody has, they're not like layered characters. They're just kind of like archetypes. Leader, annoying guy that's second in command, dirty, loud guy. Like,
Yeah, honestly, I think that the best thing it has going for it is its humor, to be honest, which is maybe not the main focal point, but there's definitely a lot of it thrown in there, you know.
yeah, that's fair.
Um, but I agree. I was kind of like surprised to see how highly acclaimed this film is, just because I felt the same. I felt like it dragged a bit. It was underdeveloped. Like, is for a 2 hour or so runtime, almost 2.5.
Yeah,
It,
I
it
watched the
didn't.
director's cut. It was like
It
2.5 hours.
I also watched the director's cut. I was like, it didn't feel like really that much was put into it, you know. So I was kind of confused by. I'm like, what am I missing here? What are other people seeing in this, you know? But
I
I will
think part of
say,
it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, again, I find it way more interesting after the fact reading Tarantino's insight on the film and like why
Yeah,
he
no,
thinks it's
yeah, he
so
gets you
great.
excited for these things.
Yeah,
Like
and I like
even
read it, and it's
Bullet.
like, and it made so much more sense after the fact when he describes it as like, he's like, this is this group of guys who are, um, they're terrible in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of infighting within their group, but at like the end of the day, they're all willing to just like die for each other, right? Like that is in like hearing him describe it, I was like, yes, that makes perfect sense. Did I necessarily like feel that in the movie? No.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
wasn't that forward for me.
No, I felt the same. He's a good writer. He gets you like excited for things, and he's able to like build up the themes that aren't necessarily right on the surface. He does the same with Bullet. Like after I read him talking about Bullet, I was like, yeah, maybe Bullet's better than I thought it was as I was watching it. But I was like, no, as I was watching it is what matters, and I was kind of bored as I was watching it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And I love a good Western too. So I was
also,
disappointed.
yeah. Also about the Wild Bunch, and I think the thing we're not getting is that we've seen the style emulated so many times in things that are more exciting to us. Like hit
You could certainly see Tarantino's inspiration from that film with all of his bloody shootouts at the end of his films.
all the quick cuts, all the slow motion, the blood splatter, like that is all over Django and the Hateful Eight
Yeah,
and like all of them
everywhere. Kill
yeah,
Bill.
all of them. But yeah, there's something really specific about it. And I think in those moments it feels modern. And then as the action winds down, you're back to like the old 60s cowboy movie.
Yeah, totally.
We're almost like desensitized to
Yeah.
the
I
violence
will
in a
say
way.
though, I mentioned it earlier, him talking about like the double feature of this and uh
Deliverance.
Deliverance. Like hearing the way he wrote about what the studios were showing at the time and how they kept things in theaters and they brought things back into theaters and they had intermissions. I was like, I wish we had that like level, that old school level of like programming and curation when it came to movie theaters. I guess I mean that's the downfall of not having a lot of independent cinemas, you know, like the chain theaters are just always playing what's brand new, whatever the rock's in, and then moving on. But it made me envious of like that point in time, right? Like him describing going to these double features or even sometimes seeing triple features. Seems like a bygone era.
Yeah, there's no presentation anymore. And I think that like level of presentation of ceremony. It's almost like ceremonial when you have a intermission and everyone actually is quiet during the theater and stuff. You
You
feel
mean
like
not dumping sodas on other people?
yeah, exactly. Those are the things I'm hinting at. Just
Which I complained to Regal. I wanted a refund and they wouldn't give me one
oh my god.
because they said you have to like tell the manager within 20 minutes of the showtime because if you stay for the film, we're assuming that you enjoyed it. Um, so I complained and they gave me no refund, but then I kept complaining and they gave me 2 small popcorns and 2 small sodas for next time I
Well,
go.
I'm glad you got something out of it.
Yeah.
That's probably like
Quick.
$35 worth of
Yeah, no
Regal right
kidding.
there.
Side note for our listeners who are not familiar with my story, I recently went to a showing of The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, and
Hmm.
after these 2 groups of people got into a verbal altercation over their seat assignments, one crazy woman decided to dump a large soda on top of another crazy woman and yelled "fuck you, bitch," and then left the theater. It's a very eventful end to The Lord of the Rings, which goes out with a whimper instead of a bang. So it really needed that extra spice at the end.
Yeah, we live
There's
in
nothing epic. There's nothing epic about that war or the
no.
destruction of the ring or anything. I needed the added entertainment value.
Yeah, I'm glad she was able to save you from your boredom.
Yeah. What else would I have done for that 4 hours? Extended edition.
I don't know, sit on tacks, shove a fork in your kneecap. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can think of a few things more entertaining. Um, I'm kidding. I like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. 5 stars. If anyone's
Deliverance.
listening to this and doesn't know they're my favorite films of all time, then they just don't know me very well.
I'm sure they know. Whoever is listening to this episode knows that.
Yeah,
And if not, now they do.
they do. All right, Deliverance.
All right, Deliverance. Next, okay. So I read these chapters so long ago that I was like, oh, there's all these things I want to mention when we record, but we haven't been super regimented with our recordings and our releases. So I forgot about all of the things. So I'm kind of just remembering what I thought about the movies. But I remember feeling validated about what I thought about Deliverance after reading what Quentin Tarantino thought was that the first half is rocking and it kind of dies out awkwardly as it goes on. Like the second half is much more of like an action movie kind of. And specifically like the rock climbing and some of the escape stuff and oh, did he get shot, shot who first, like that whole conundrum that the movie kind of brings on. But I just think the first half creates such a atmosphere and a vibe and you get like the perfect window into these characters' lives that you understand why each of them is operating the way they do. The casting is Burt Reynolds is like the tough
He's
guy.
so awesome.
He's so good as the tough guy, but then kind of like is injured, and the other two need to like take charge in order for them to survive. There's just so much great subversion in the movie. Burt Reynolds hair is some of the worst I've seen in a Burt Reynolds movie. He has these sideburns that like engulf his cheeks. They're just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Kelly was watching some of it with me and was like, I can't believe people think this guy's hot. And I was like, Burt Reynolds is hot, but his hair is not doing him any favors in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
Deliverance.
this was your first time seeing Deliverance?
No, I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, it was my first time seeing it.
Okay.
And it is tough because like I was somewhat aware of the shocking moment
The
in the
rape
film.
scene. The rape
Yes.
scene.
Yeah.
Ned Beatty because Ned Beatty is such a character, like he's in so many movies. He's such a great character actor. So to have him like a pleasant guy, he's always kind of like a nice guy, a fun guy. I think he has some villainous turns, but for the most part, people see him as like, I feel like a jolly guy. But to see him being sodomized is like way more disturbing, I think, because of the relationship with him. At least the one I have. Like I think of fucking 20 years later, but I think of like the dad from Rudy and shit as he's squealing.
Yeah. No, I think that's what makes it so impactful. Not even just like his like the other roles he's done, but like his character in the film as well, like the way they're constantly picking on him, especially Burt Reynolds, and then how that translates into like he's the one that's singled out. Which I didn't know it was exactly going to play out. I had heard about the film that it was like really brutal and a tough watch, and that there was, I don't know, I didn't know if it was like rape specifically, but I remember there being that element to it. So I guess like when it happened, like it's still horrific to it's a horrific moment in the film.
It's tough to watch, yeah.
But like watching it, I don't think, going in with some level of awareness, like it was as shocking as it would have been to audiences back then. Like I can't even imagine going to a theater and watching that, because you're thinking you're watching like this
adventure movie,
whitewater rafting adventure, and then it just takes such a dramatic turn in that moment. It's really like it's like two different films almost in that sense. I do like how the film continues from that point, between them fighting over what to do and then sort of the rescue, and I thought there's a lot of tension behind. I know Tarantino said like it didn't have the impact as it should, but I felt a lot of tension with like the whole question of like, was he shot or did he just fall out?
I wish I just knew. I just think I
liked not knowing.
The way they play it is like, I don't know why they're creating a sense of mystery in this movie. You know what I mean? Like the movie's so matter of fact. I don't know why they need to be ambiguous.
See, I like the mystery. I like the mystery because the mystery then it really determines every action from beyond that point, right? Because like the whole film, besides the rape aspect to it, right, which is a huge part of it, but like another huge aspect of the film is like these city guys who are looking down on the hillbillies or the mountain folk, whatever you want to call them, and like up until that point when the rape happens, obviously like the mountain people are portrayed in a certain light, right? And they're portrayed
Freaks.
as being evil.
They're goddamn
freaks.
evil freaks.
I like how Tarantino calls the banjo kid a mongoloid in the book. That made me laugh.
That cracked me up.
That made me laugh a lot. He's like the mongoloid banjo kid. But right, they're portrayed a certain type of way, and then when the whole question of like whether he was shot or not is like, okay, are they actually being hunted right now? It's a mystery. And then when Ed climbs the rocks and kills the other guy, it's almost like a question of like, now Ed is the bad one, right? Ed is the one who took it too far, who acted out of turn, and this guy was innocent. And then it comes full circle at the end when the people of the town are shown to be very kind and bring them in and look after them. So I was fine with the way that they played it as a mystery. I think like if you knew, it's obviously a mystery to the characters, but I think for it to be a mystery to the characters, it also has to be a mystery to the viewer, because if it's not a mystery to you, I don't know, I feel like the impact is maybe lessened. But I do agree in a sense that like from that point on, after like that's when it comes to like that middle section of them killing the guy, burying the body, going on the run, him getting shot / falling out of the boat. Like that's the peak. And then from there it does start to dwindle, because it's like, okay, now he's climbing the rock and he's camping out and he kills the guy.
Well, he climbs the rock so easily too. It's such a scale, and he kind of had no problem. And the movie's so methodical that you would assume you would stay with John Voight or have a little more time with the accomplishment of climbing the side of the cliff or whatever. But it's just kind of like, oh no, he does it.
And then after that, like the rescue is even like less interesting, so it like peaks and then begins to fall again.
And when they reveal what Burt Reynolds' like leg injury looks like too, it is so cheap looking, even for back then, even for when this movie comes from. It literally looks like they took like a chicken breast and they just like tacked it to the side of his leg. It's the worst like broken leg I've ever seen in a movie. It is horrible looking.
But it's so interesting, right? Because a lot of this film they filmed them actually whitewater rafting, and it was extremely dangerous. And
all that stuff rocks.
Burt Reynolds like injured his tailbone falling down, like sliding down the rapids, and is like, it's such a difference, right? For it to be like so real. And even I think John Voight climbed the cliff, they said. So it's like on one hand they're doing all this crazy shit, but then at other times like it's a bit cheap, like you just said.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will talk more about movies after we Zoom call each other back, because we don't pay for like pro Zoom where you can record as long as you want or have the meetings as long as you want. On the Zoom that we have, it's 40-minute meetings. So I mean, it's a whole thing, but basically I record 40-minute chunks of the conversation and then I stitch them together, both for the YouTube version and the audio version. I mean, the audio version is like a separate track, but I still have to like stitch it together and cut all the dead air out while I, call them back on Zoom. So that's what I'm going to do now.
Quick side note before we begin.
Oh no, this is part of it. Go ahead.
Okay. No, but I'm saying before we get into the movies, because this is nothing related.
Oh.
Did you go to Allen Road like K through 4? Were you there the whole time?
Not the whole time. 2,
what
3,
years?
4.
2, 3, 4. Okay, so I don't know if you were probably there.
What?
Do you remember when the janitor had that accident with the lawnmower and like chopped off his finger?
Honestly, vaguely. You saying
right?
You saying that does ring a bell.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it earlier today, and it like sparked a memory. I was like, yeah, the janitor. We drove past Allen Road, and I think there's a lawnmower out or whatever. And I was like, yeah, the janitor fucking chopped off his finger, dude. I remember they told all the students, like, it was a big thing. The guy had bandages like on his hand. we rallied behind him in a big way. But
What was the custodian even doing riding a lawnmower? Was it a maintenance man? Was it
I think so.
a groundskeeper? It was probably more of a groundskeeper if he's mowing.
No, I think they did everything.
Oh, did they?
Probably. I don't know.
Oh, no, that makes sense, I guess. Why would they just have inside people and outside people?
Yeah, but dude, he fucking chopped off his finger.
I wonder how he's doing.
I know. Good Lord.
I hope he's
Ugh.
you think he's still there?
I mean, we're talking like 20 years ago, so I hope not.
Yeah, hopefully he's retired. There's no more risk
Yeah,
of losing
yeah.
any more
It's literally been like 20 years since he lost this finger.
appendages.
Yeah. Oh, one more note about Deliverance before we move on too.
Yeah, Final Deliverance and Quentin
Final
Tarantino
Deliverance.
notes.
So I've always, the first time I think I've ever heard about Deliverance, I've always known about Deliverance is from The Office.
Oh,
Because when they're going to Florida and Dwight does like his orientation training for all of them, like he's trying to like show them all the bad things about Florida. And he's like, "Who has seen the documentary Deliverance?" And the fact that he calls it a documentary is so fucking funny.
do you think that joke plays into like people really like this just felt real to a lot of people, or is it just Dwight being stupid?
And no, probably that it felt real. Well, first of all, they use real hillbillies in it, right?
Yeah, they're all like residents.
Which I don't know if that's an offensive term to say, but they use real resident.
There's no fucking hillbillies listening to this shit anyway. Call them whatever you want.
I know, mongoloids. They they use real people in it, and it probably like felt, and like Tarantino describes it, right? Like that's part of what was so scary about that scene is it felt like I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy, the rapist, it felt like he was a real person doing it, right? And not an actor.
And they said the same shit about the guy that plays Scorpio in Dirty Harry. He was so damn scary. He couldn't be in any other movies because people were just too scared of him from Dirty Harry.
It's crazy. But it was, another interesting thing where they shot it in Georgia, I'm pretty sure is the same location of Cocaine Bear, which I know we just both watched. Right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't finish Cocaine Bear. Okay.
Oh, you didn't?
I was really tired and I went to bed right after.
Pretty sure it's the same location.
I went to bed right after kind of the first big bear attack where Margot Martindale like flies out of the ambulance and skids across.
Oh, so you only made it like halfway.
Yeah, I only made it halfway.
Yeah.
It sucked.
It wasn't good. Yeah, it wasn't good.
We watched 30 minutes of Ghosted.
I don't know what the appeal was, honestly, of that movie.
We watched 30 minutes of Ghosted. You know Ghosted?
No. Feel like I've heard of it, but
Ghosted, it is a new rom-com with Anna de Armas and Chris Evans on Apple TV Plus, where
sounds horrible.
They go on a date and she ghosts him and he tracks her down across she flies across oceans to find her again and finds out that she's a super spy. So she's like, why did you find me? Why did you chase me down? And he's like, I loved you. We went on a date and you didn't respond to me. What was I supposed to do? I was supposed to find you because I love you so much. You're my girlfriend. You're supposed to be the one I love forever, but you ghosted me and now I'm here. One of the most lazy, haphazardly assembled, pointless, thoughtless, effortless movies I've ever seen. Completely lazy, almost an offensive waste of 2 hours. I think it's a 2-hour movie. It is offensive.
Nice.
It sucks.
You watch the whole thing?
No, again, like 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watched it and then I watched Cocaine Bear after. More on Ghosted is just like these are sexy people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're attractive people. And it's like they beat them before every scene to make sure there's no charisma on screen at all. It's like the filmmakers didn't want Chris Evans or Anna de Armas to be charming whatsoever, have no sex appeal, have no attraction towards one another. It's like a hostage negotiation of a movie.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say.
Interesting. So I do, in a sense, I have a connection with Ghosted because I didn't watch it, but
Yeah, you didn't even know what it was.
Okay, but hold on, I have a roundabout way of getting there.
All right, get it.
So
Get to it.
in the film Twitterverse, right?
Yep.
There's he's getting a lot of flack for Ghosted, I think. And somebody tweeted about Ghosted. Remember when Chris Evans was in movies like Sunshine and Snowpiercer? And then people were sharing this quote from a 2011 article where Chris Evans said, "Nobody sees my good movies." He said, "I'd have a different career if people saw that." Talking about the Danny Boyle film Sunshine, he said, "All my good movies nobody sees." And so I saw that and I noticed it was on my watch list. And so I watched it last night. I was like, let me throw on Sunshine.
Oh, what'd you think? I've always wanted to watch that.
Sunshine was very, very interesting. It is a hard one to put your finger on, honestly. It's either a film I feel like you would like love or hate, and I don't know.
I like Danny Boyle.
I don't know which. Danny Boyle is great, and he's actually like, I was looking at his filmography, and I'm like, what is this? Like, it's so, his filmography is so random.
Yeah, he does a lot of different stuff.
Does a lot of different things. I mean, you're talking about Train Spotting, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, 28 Days Later. Like, these are all, those films couldn't be different from each other.
Yesterday.
Like, if they tried Yesterday, Steve Jobs, Sunshine.
Sunshine's a science fiction movie, right?
It's a sci-fi movie. Reading the description, right? 50 years into the future, the sun is dying and Earth is threatened by Arctic temperatures. A team of astronauts is sent to revive the sun, but the mission fails. 7 years later, a new team is sent to finish the mission as mankind's last hope. So I guess I was focusing more on the first sentence. I thought it was going to be more of a disaster movie, like with the Earth dying. But it really, like, the whole thing pretty much takes place in space. Like, I thought it'd be a little bit of each. Like in Armageddon, like it starts on Earth and they're building it up and then they go to space for the mission. Like, this film starts, they're already smack dab in space. Like, they're on the ship, they're halfway to the sun, whatever.
So that's just setup. That's setup right there.
Yeah, but it ended up being really interesting. Very distinct visual style. Unfortunately, I watched it on like a Plex stream, which I think the quality wasn't the highest. So
yeah, some of those files are low.
Could have been, so it could have been nicer looking. It's not streaming anywhere, unfortunately, to my knowledge, but you could probably rent it.
So question, I guess, if it's free on Plex, you're gonna run it. If you like, sometimes I think for a lot of movies I will just run it. Like, me and Kelly watched Aaron Brockovich on the Plex server a couple weeks ago. It was fine. It was that's a fine example to me to watch if there's only a low quality option. But some things, and I feel like Sunshine might fall under this category, I might just pay the $3 and rent it HD on Amazon. Do you ever think about that, or do you care about that?
I never think about that, but now I'm gonna start thinking about that.
There's just certain movies like
in hindsight, it's probably worth it.
I started watching The Insider, the Michael Mann tobacco movie, on Plex, and I watched like 2 minutes of it, and I'm like, oh, this is fuzzy. And then I watched. But
yeah, it's probably standard def. Like,
I was just like
720.
Some of them I feel like are less than that too. I think some of them are like 480, and even 720 on a bigger 55-inch TV looks like shit.
Yeah, totally. No, it depends, on the format and everything and what year it is.
But yeah, I was like, okay, I do not regret spending $3 to watch Insider in higher quality, because I just feel like if it's
probably worth it,
it makes me more engaged.
Then.
Yeah, it makes me more engaged with it too, I think.
Yeah, no, very distinct,
good movie, cool movie,
interesting film, great cast in it. Obviously Chris Evans, like I mentioned, but also is it Cillian Murphy or Cillian Murphy? I never get it right.
Cillian.
Okay.
He's Irish.
Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Michelle
Ooh, I love
Yeoh,
Rose Byrne.
Benedict Wong, Cliff Curtis,
Oh, nice.
Hiroki Sanada. Yeah, great cast, honestly. And really, it became more than a space film and more than like the sun itself. Like it ended up being very like spiritual and like these questions of morals and ethics and naturally some disaster stuff in there too. The plan doesn't go accordingly, and they're desperate and shit's hitting the fan, as every space movie ends up being.
Yeah.
But very, very solid flick.
Sounds cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny Chris Evans saying shit like that because have you ever
I
seen
mean,
Scott?
it was back in 2011
No,
before the
this
whole Marvel thing.
still.
Yeah.
He made hundreds of millions of dollars in the Marvel movies. You would think that gives him cushion to now do whatever he wants. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like just pick projects that excite you and that you're interested in. But no, I think he's only concerned about now being an A-list movie star.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just wants to keep his place in that
Yeah, that
conversation.
shit. Yeah.
And same with Anna de Armas. She's in good movies. I think she's a good actress. But if you look at her last few movies, it's like she's just like trying
Well,
so.
pretty much everything since Bond has been a stinker.
Did Knives Out come before or after that? Before?
Before.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Yeah.
So
Uh,
everything since Bond has been a stinker.
but it's fun. It's funny. With Chris Evans too, because in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, he plays an actor, and he's making fun of like the movie star that makes these movies, that makes the rom-coms that are disposable and they just burn out, that makes the action movie you can't follow and that's all CGI. He made fun of that 15 years ago and he's become that.
Yeah.
So it's just I had higher hopes for Chris Evans post Endgame, and he hasn't delivered a single thing.
Yeah.
But I don't really care.
I know we both love Snowpiercer.
I really like Snowpiercer.
Okay, sorry. You don't love it. You really like it.
I had to make that distinction. I didn't want anyone else going around saying I love Snowpiercer. I would have been fucking pissed. If that rumor started about me, oh my God, I would be freaking out. Cocaine Bear. So Cocaine Bear,
not good.
much better than Ghosted, I gotta say, especially in my 45% double feature I did. But it's just tonally kind of a mess. I don't know if it wants to be like a scary bear body horror movie, or if it wants to be a comedy, or if it wants to like really riff on the 80s, because it like only dips its toe into all of those things. And I also think there's so many characters in the movie, it feels like an episode of TV where you're just like, as soon as one storyline is going, you would go to the next one and you're like, oh God, I don't care about this at all. And then as you're kind of paying attention to it at the end of the scene, it cuts to the other group of characters and you kind of repeat this like aimless process all over again. So yeah, I thought it was just kind of a mess. I did appreciate how gory it was. Like the one good bear attack scene was pretty good. Despite the bear looking stupid, CGI horrible bear. But yeah, it's very bad, but compared to Ghosted, it's fucking work of art.
Yeah. Well, what you missed out on.
Yeah, tell me what I missed.
You missed Ray Liotta. You probably got one scene
I got
with
one
Ray
scene
Liotta,
of him, yeah.
but you missed the heart of Ray Liotta. I really liked him in it. I mean, it's hard not to like Ray Liotta.
Of course.
Especially, I just like love the way he looked too, with like that long hair.
Well, I actually thought Margot Martindale was hilarious.
She was funny.
I was actually laughing out loud at a lot of her lines.
Yeah, she was really funny.
But I'm glad Ray Liotta brought that similar energy.
But yeah, I didn't know what this film was trying to do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I liked the 80s vibes, but
it was like barely there though.
Yeah.
It was like
it faded out. It was like the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it faded out.
And then
it became like a mom-daughter rescue. Like she's going into the woods to get the kids. Like it was strange.
in so many movies too, especially stupid movies that you just want to see the stupid shit happen. Um, they explain too much about everybody. Like, I don't care about what's going on with the daughter. I don't care about the mom. I don't care about their family. I don't care about what's happening at home and who has
Yeah.
cancer and who's like getting a divorce and all this shit. Just show me she's lost in the woods and all right, start there. There's so much fat in all these movies that should be really. I'm pretty sure Cocaine Bear also like what, an hour 50 minutes, hour 45 minutes or something. That's not even that long.
I think it's like an hour 40, I want to say. It wasn't too long.
Okay.
Let me see.
But yeah, there's just so much
Bear.
fat on things that should know to be tighter.
Yeah. Hour 35.
Okay, that's not
I
enough
know that
time
because
for
like right after I had time to fit in another like 90-minute movie, so I watched Christopher Guest For Your Consideration.
Oh yeah, all those are so
I've
funny.
been doing like a rewatch lately of Schitt's Creek, so I love Catherine O'Hara and
Yeah.
Eugene Levy.
I haven't seen any of that show.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. You would probably hate it, to be honest. You would be like, this isn't funny. It's a very heartwarming film
Yeah, it sounds
or
annoying.
show. But yeah, the Christopher Guest is great. It's like watching. I've seen a few of his films now, like Best in Show.
Best in Show is super funny.
Yeah, and it's like so interesting to watch those films because it's like such a distinct comedic style, you know, like I mean, I guess it's not that distinct, but it's like the mockumentary stuff. And I guess like what surprises me more is the people that he's able to get onto these films, you know?
Stacked cast.
Stacked. And it's like a lot of like recurring actors and actresses, you know, like
Oh yeah.
Fred Willard is in a lot of them.
He's so good.
Parker Posey.
Love her.
Yeah, John Michael Higgins was in For Your Consideration. Jane Lynch, Jennifer Coolidge was hysterical in it. Bob Balaban.
Oh yeah.
Ricky Gervais was in it as well. But
Oh,
it was
he's in For Your Consideration.
Yeah, it was just like a pretty funny film about like the whole, you know, Hollywood system and
yeah, the
especially
award
like
season.
Award season, and it's like these no-name actors who have just been like taking shit roles for years, and then it's like there's whispers that they might get Oscar nommed for this film. In this film too, it's funny, like they're shooting this film about a Jewish family, and it's called Home for Purim, which is a Jewish holiday. And then Ricky Gervais is like the executive, and he's like make it less Jewish. We want all audiences to go see this. And so they end up turning it into Home for Thanksgiving, which is it's just pretty funny.
Oh man.
But yeah, solid film. Not the best Christopher Guest by any means. I think Best in Show I would put number one, but it was funny.
Yeah, I think they're all funny. Even kind of the later ones where they're losing steam a little bit, there's still a lot of funny shit in there. Didn't mention Spinal Tap. Even I know he didn't direct it, but he was a big part of Spinal Tap too, and that's probably the peak of them all, even though it came first.
What did he do in Spinal Tap? No, I haven't.
He's one of the writers, and I think he might be in it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know he's in a lot of his own films.
Yeah, started like, I mean, there's mockumentary shit before, but it really popularized the whole Spinal Tap thing, or the whole mockumentary thing. Now I got to make sure he did write this shit. Yeah, he's him, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer from The Simpsons.
Gotcha. Funny guy.
Speaking of Parker Posey, I saw Beau's Afraid.
I need to see it. I know you told me I'm gonna hate it. I had that feel. I had a feeling I'm gonna hate it. Like
I'm very curious what you think.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing to like a novel I've seen on the big screen in a long time. That's what it feels like. It feels like a really dense book. It's fractured. It's not like, doesn't have chapters come up on screen and say chapter 1, chapter 2, but it's very fractured and segmented in a really purposeful way. Performances are crazy across the board. One of the wildest and funniest Joaquin performances. The first hour, like, the movie's so funny too. It's just like, it's really dark comedy, like anxiety horror, I guess, but it's a the way he makes basically the Odyssey featuring nervous Jewish man is some genius shit. And there's some masterful filmmaking in there. The way the transitions, the very simple shots, the way he creates tension and suspense in so many moments, how surreal the world is. It's operating on a very comic, theatrical level. Like, you think of so much while watching this movie. You think of like different plays, you think of old writers, old books, old movies you've seen. It's kind of like a tailor-made thing for me, especially like fake corporations, fake ads, like fake medication, uh signage. Like, there's so many jokes just walking down the street, and different signs in the background, and graffiti, and like store names or jokes. It's just very, very comic. Yeah, it's great, but it's definitely, I feel like if somebody told me they weren't impressed with it or didn't find it admirable in any way, I'd be like, you're an annoying scumbag. But it's definitely,
That's gonna be my review.
you'll say that just to piss me off.
Yeah, I'm quoting that word for word.
But it's definitely not made for everyone. I think it's super specific, super niche. But also Martin Scorsese thinks Ari Aster is one of our few great international filmmakers. And if any schmuck on Letterboxd, anybody on Twitter, your opinion does not matter. Martin Scorsese loves this fucking movie. So anything you say is kind of just farting in the wind.
Yeah, I mean, it very much feels like an acquired taste. I think it's admirable alone that just like Ari Aster is willing to make this movie.
It's sick that a studio gave him the money.
And he said that, like, too. He's like, people are gonna kill me over this. They're gonna hate this. But yeah, I don't have high expectations because just from the get-go, I can kind of tell, I don't think it's for me. But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. You're a fan of his other films, right?
Yeah, but I think this is like beyond those.
Yeah.
Like way beyond.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't like Hereditary, and I've never seen Midsommar, so I don't.
I think Midsommar is super funny. I think he has a real knack for like.
Do you think I should watch it before I go see this? Or is it not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary in any way, but it's only one other movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To get the full,
I kind of want to strike while the iron's hot here.
To get the full Ari Aster picture, I feel like it's I would say it's his second best movie if we're jumping to the ranking.
2 out of 3.
But I think they're all great. So it's all like, it's so marginal. It's so like a silly thing to even say.
Yeah.
I think the first two are very tight and technical, and he has a very specific vision. And this movie is like a behemoth.
Yeah. How long is Beau is Afraid?
3 hours.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I'm worried about.
It's 3 hours, and
it's going to be tough.
A warning.
That's what's tough is because it could be, depending if you like it or not, they could be a very enjoyable 3 hours or a miserable 3 hours.
Exactly. It's I feel like you feel its length in a good way. Like in the beginning of the movie, it's like full of adrenaline, and then it kind of descends. There's some peaks in that descension, but for the most part, it's like it shakes you up, and then it makes you fucking stumble around for the next hour and a half. And in like a theater way, in a play way, kind of almost every segment at the end, I don't want to say it drags, but you feel the length of it, but you're okay with it because there's just so much greatness going on. Like, I'm sure some very specific performances in the movie are being called out, and it's almost like a performance where you're just like, okay, you can fucking stand there and rant and rave for as long as you want because this is just magic. Um, and I think I already said it a minute ago, but Nathan Lane is so fucking funny in this movie. His line delivery, every line he delivers is just like comic genius.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Love Nathan Lane.
So yeah, I would say I'd be curious what you think of Beau is Afraid, but I
I
would
will let you know.
I'd wager that it's not for
Yeah.
you.
You know what though? You know what? I would much rather see if somebody tells me they think a film's not for me, there's no harm in that, right? Because like either I go and I see it and they're right, or I go and see it and they're wrong and it exceeds my expectations. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is worse than the opposite. When someone tells you, oh my God, you're going to love this film. It's like right up your alley. Then you go and see it and you fucking hate it.
Yeah.
That is the worst. That's
No,
what
yeah,
happened to me with
I'm
Licorice
trying to word
Pizza.
it carefully.
Because even if you like a film that somebody says you're going to love, it just like it sets it to such a high bar, you know? So no harm, no foul. I will go see it and report back. But I have a final changing directions here. I have a final topic. This is a topic I came somewhat prepared with. It was a late breaker, but I saw on Twitter that today is the great Al Pacino's birthday.
Oh yeah, I saw
We're
that.
recording this on April 25th. So it is Al Pacino's birthday. And I thought it would be fun to discuss Al Pacino for a minute. Maybe some superlatives like favorite line, favorite performances, worst Al Pacino film that you've seen.
Ooh.
Overrated, underrated. Throwing a lot at you now.
Well, I guess I had the chance to see the man a few weeks ago, but it was for a movie called Revolutionary or Revolution or something. It's like a American Revolution movie from the 80s. It looks really bad. It looks stupid.
Yeah.
But
Never heard of it.
a local theater was doing like a 4K director's cut 25th anniversary, and he came and talked about the movie and that he liked it and is glad more people are seeing it. If it was any other Al Pacino movie, I would have went and saw it, but I had negative interest in that movie.
Yeah. 2.4 on Letterboxd. Yeah.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, it's low.
I really like The Insider. I mentioned that 20 minutes ago. Him and Michael Mann's The Insider and Heat.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's like 1,000 iconic Al Pacino performances in movies, but that kind of those couple Michael Mann collaborations really stand out to me.
Okay.
I just think they kind of like act on a really mythic level. The Insider is a lot different than Heat, but it kind of feels the same. It wears a similar jacket, like a similar thriller jacket. Even though it's about like tobacco companies lying to people about what happens when you smoke cigarettes versus, taking down professional thieves. But yeah, I don't know. Michael Mann can channel a very specific Pacino, and they're both different characters. The coked up Vincent Hanna versus committed to his workaholic. I don't know his character's name in The Insider, but he works for 60 Minutes. And
okay.
Christopher, great movies.
Yeah.
I'll always tell.
It's so easy to say
The Godfather,
like The Godfather,
Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, don't roll your eyes at Dog Day Afternoon.
I'm not, but I'm just saying that's definitely a go-to, I feel like.
See, I think not enough people have seen Dog Day Afternoon. That was going to be my pick for like favorite performance that like isn't recognized enough, but excuse me.
I feel like I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like in the film, even because people that I'm surprised have seen Dog Day Afternoon have seen it. So that's why I'm kind of like, maybe in the last probably like 5 to 10 years. I feel like in the last like 5 to 10 years has become way more popular than it was prior to that.
So I had a
And that's
close
just
friend that just
access,
saw
though.
it. I had a close friend that just saw it for the first time like a month ago and was like raving about it. I was like, yes, like, see, thank you. All right. I will say I think the most perhaps underrated Pacino film / performance is Nolan's Insomnia. Him and
Great
Robin
movie.
Williams.
Really good
Great
movie.
movie.
Yep.
Um,
The least Christopher Nolan movie.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Donnie Brasco. I love him in Donnie Brasco.
I think that's an okay movie, but he's good in it.
Yeah. Oh, I like Donnie Brasco a lot.
I don't like it a lot. I don't think I like
4
Johnny Depp
stars.
playing a normal person.
Oh, that's not Al Pacino's fault.
No, but it's the movie. It's
See,
part of the movie.
in my Letterboxd review, I said Johnny Depp was the other highlight of the film. The way he was acting so torn apart felt really genuine. But I don't know, maybe you just want to see him be a total weirdo.
Yeah, I need Johnny Depp to be in a pirate's hat.
Okay. Get the fuck out of here.
What was I gonna say for Pacino? Oh, most magnetic performance, Scarface.
Yeah. But I would almost venture, like, I don't want to say most overrated, but I think it kind of almost is.
Honestly, I don't think Scarface is overrated. I
No.
rewatched it last fall on a double VHS tape. The movie fucking rocks. The movie rocks.
Okay.
It is so tight, and it's a long ass movie, but it doesn't, I feel like it flies by. There's so many ups and downs. There's like different versions of the same character.
Sorry. Any given Sunday is definitely most overrated.
Oh. I mean, that movie just straight up stinks.
Yeah. Would you say that's the worst Pacino film you've ever seen?
Where he's like the lead?
Just Pacino film, anything he's been in.
I think it would have to be that Jack and Jill movie, right? Or like,
I don't know. I've never seen that.
that's the Adam Sandler movie where he's like, Dunkachino, Dunkachino.
Oh, that's hysterical though.
That's funny, but I feel
That
like that's
clip.
probably the worst movie. Or I mean, he's in a handful of like
Righteous Kill is really bad. Him and De Niro.
There's
like
a few of those in the 2000s.
2008 like cop movie. Yeah, that one's bad.
He's got a handful of those.
Yeah.
He's also in, I haven't seen it, but there's this later movie where he's a musician. If you're looking at IMDb, what is that movie? In like 2016, 2017?
He's a musician. All right, I'm going to sort by newest first. So it comes up towards the top. When did you say it was?
In the last 10 years. No, you gotta look if you can't find it. Because I see the image in my head, but I don't know the name of this stupid movie. I don't know if the poster is gonna like give it away immediately, you know.
Yeah.
Danny Collins. It's this Danny Collins movie. An aging rock star decides to change his life when he discovers a 40-year-old letter written to him by John Lennon.
Oh my God.
This movie seems fucking dumb.
It already sounds terrible.
But yeah, I'm seeing so many random ass movies on here. The Hangman with Carl Urban. Just so many straight to on demand, whether they're like dramas or action movies, that he definitely just showed up for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Honestly, in the last fucking 20 something years, there's only a handful of decent movies he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
thank God for The Irishman, though. That's all I'll say.
Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And then it's over 10 years, and it might be Ocean's 13.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sure some of these movies are okay. Like the Joe Paterno movie is probably like a good performance in an okay movie. I've seen this Jack Kevorkian movie he's in too, and that was okay.
Dr. Kevorkian.
Yeah, you don't know Jack.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, I don't know. He hasn't been. There's a lot of garbage even like going into the 90s. Like there's some garbage.
Yeah. You got Insomnia in 2002. And then the next best film after that is probably Ocean's 13, 5 years later in 2007. Then after that, there's nothing really good until you have The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the same year. I thought he was so funny in The Irishman.
Oh, he's
so
hilarious.
funny.
Him being manic. I mean, same
Yeah.
as in him being manic and freaking out on people, and kind of like he knows how to whittle people down in both those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to see him operate on someone like that is some. I said it about someone else,
To a
but
meeting? Never
some.
never 15 minutes late to a meeting.
He's sneaky hilarious, even in
Yeah.
fucking Scarface and shit. There's hilarious lines in there.
Dude, the line that cracks me up the most is when he's like, when Kennedy is sick, he's like, his fucking kids did this to him. They turned him into a vegetable.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta rewatch that shit. I haven't forever.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
All right, happy birthday, Al Pacino.
Yeah, happy birthday, Al Pacino. Make a couple more good ones before you go, buddy. How about that?
Gosh.
No, he doesn't need to. He's already done the work. You know what I mean? He's already done what he needs to do. He doesn't owe anyone else.
I love
anything.
seeing on Twitter like just pictures of people spotting him, like going for his walks and shit.
And he's just such an old man.
Yeah,
him in a Shrek phone case.
This Shrek phone case is amazing.
He really is just like, oh, come here, Grandpa. This is how you open Google.
Yeah,
that's just what I see every time those pictures are taken of him, just like Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 2 minutes left. This was fun. I'm glad we exorcised this out of our systems, these demons we've had. Next, okay. I'm just gonna rant here. Going forward, we're going to be a little more regimented and scheduled. There's going to be outlines in the future. Also,
seems ambitious.
I got to get back on the clip wave. I've been lazy boy. I've just been blasting these things off into YouTube and Apple and Spotify. I want to get the clips out there. That's mostly a me and Mike conversation, but the clips are good for like interactions and getting some eyeballs. So I feel like I'll pull a couple out of this one, and then next episode will be more segmented and it'll be easier to kind of think about. I gotta pee so bad. What else do I want to say? You got anything to say, Mike? You want to say anything? What are we going to talk about on next week's episode?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot. I haven't thought ahead.
Should we do a big theme or should we just keep rolling?
Is anything coming out?
Let's look.
Not really, right?
No, not really. I've actually been looking because I'm like, oh, how can I really use this AMC A-list? And I can't because everything's horrible.
Yeah.
So who knows what we'll talk about? We'll talk about something movie related. Yeah. I will say I came into a roadblock with this damn Tarantino book, and like the next chapter, it's called The Outfit. It's the chapter after The Getaway. I can't find this fucking movie anywhere to watch.
Oh.
It's on a Plex. I can't rent it. I can't even pay $5 on Amazon to watch it.
You could just watch the other movie called The Outfit with Mark Rylance that came out last year, where he's like in a mob and he's a tailor.
Very interesting exercise watching the wrong movie and reading the chapter about it.
Yes. Let's do it.
All right, this is over. I got to pee so bad.